Hey, welcome back to another Kevin Smith related episode of Dear Kevin. Today I'm not talking about my bullshit screenplays, I'm talking about his bullshit movies, but in particular one I love dearly. I think I put this at number 2 as my second favorite film from Kevin Smith. And if you're following along at home, you must know what's coming up, plus it's right up there in the title. This week, today we're talking about Dogma. This is the 2-disc special edition DVD. I don't have the screenplay. I mean, I do. I printed it off the internet back in high school. I was a library aide, so I had printing privileges, and I've used them to print screenplays. Sorry, Kevin, I owe you $19.95 or whatever it is to buy a Dogma screenplay. But yeah, that's the only Dogma merchandise I have is the DVD. I think it's on Blu-ray, but I can't find it anywhere. I was reading that apparently it's kind of tied up in this weird litigation because the backstory of the Dogma behind the scenes is the Weinsteins were going to distribute it, which is owned by Disney, and then the Catholics were all, fuck that movie for no reason, and we hate it, and blah. So the Weinsteins were like, alright, Jesus, Lionsgate, you haven't made Saw yet, so do you want to do this? You're just a DVD, you're just home video. And Lionsgate was like, yeah, we'll put out Dogma, we like Dogma. So there's like this three-way thing going on about who owns Dogma, and who gets the money, which I think that's why it's not on Netflix as well. Is it Lionsgate? Is it Weinstein? Is it Disney? Like, who the fuck knows? They're trying to sort that out, I guess, and get it released some more. So apparently Dogma is kind of hard to find in stores. I've had that copy for a long time. I don't even remember buying that copy of Dogma. It's the 2-disc DVD, so it's got the movie. It's got like fucking an hour and a half of deleted scenes. I think there's a blooper reel, 2 commentary tracks. It's a very in-depth DVD, as all Kevin Smith DVDs are. Except for Zack and Miri, he pussied out on a commentary track on that one. But we'll get there. So Dogma is a movie about 2 angels who have been banished from heaven, and God has decreed they shall never return. Ever. And through this weird Catholic loophole of plenary indulgence, I'm not Catholic so I can't speak Catholicism, they could enter a church on a certain day, and by entering that church, everyone's sins will be removed. Everyone's, innocent again. And dogmatic law, hence the title of the movie, is if you hold it true on earth, I'll hold it true in heaven. Which means that, if I'm a Catholic priest and I decide that, it's a sin to stand on one foot and punch your friend in the arm on Tuesdays during a full moon, then God will be like, okay, they said it. That's dogmatic law, from what I understand. Again, not Catholic, so all this shit doesn't make sense to me. But that loophole means that should those angels enter that church and then get killed, they'll go immediately to heaven, which would prove God wrong when God decreed they never come back. And should that happen, the entire universe would be destroyed because all the universe and all of its, I can't do the Alan Rickman quote, but the universe and all of its wonder and splendor is based on one simple fact, and that is that God is infallible. So to prove him wrong would unmake existence. That's the plot of the movie. How Jay and Silent Bob get involved? Well, you just have to wait and see. This movie is, I've talked about it before, is fucking spellbinding how he pulled it off, how they pulled it off for $10 million. The cast is Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Selma Hayek, Linda Fiorentino, Chris Rock, George Carlin, Alan Rickman, Bud Cort, for all you awesome old romantic movie about the little kid and the old lady. Harold and Maude. For all you Harold and Maude fans, Bud Cort is in the movie as well. Jason Mewes is in it, of course. Janine Garofalo's got a scene. Steve, Dave, and Walt, the fanboy, are in it. The 2 guys from Comic Book Men. Massive sprawling cast. What's her fucking name? Alanis Morissette. She's in it. So big cast, big movie. It's got a lot of grand ideas, grand ambition, most of which it actually pulls off. Fucking Jason Lee, I forgot. Jason Lee's in it as well, playing a villain this time, and he is spellbindingly good as per usual. In the deleted scenes, he's got a monologue where he describes the nature of hell that is so fucking cool and fun and creepy. You need to buy the DVD or find it on YouTube, because the way Jason Lee talks about the nature of hell and that writing and the way he delivers it is so fucking cool and interesting and scary and ugh. So, Jason Lee. Anyway, Dogma is an amazing movie. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a little longer for those of you who are very tied into your faith and very much, hard. What are you doing watching this shit if you're very much into your faith? But The movie might piss you off. It does have a lot to say about various faiths, particularly Catholicism. And but more importantly, for everybody else, if you're a person who struggles with belief, if you're a person who struggles with faith, if you're not sure what God is or if God exists and what is the meaning of it all, Dogma can help. The movie with Jay and Silent Bob and the Poop Monster can really help you out. It's a very deep, thoughtful movie. Chris Rock's got a few different scenes where he he talks about his idea of what faith and belief is and how one can be good and one can be bad, and the way humanity has taken a good idea and fucked it all up. As stated in the top 10 or top 5 video, Alan Rickman is stunningly good in this movie. He has a scene where he talks to the great grandniece of Jesus Christ, and she freaks out, of course, when she learns that she's part of the lineage of Christ, and she doesn't want to do it. Like, she doesn't want her quest. She doesn't want to fucking do this. It's not fair. And Rickman shows up walking on water, and he goes, "Imagine how it felt for Jesus, I was the one who had to tell him, because, if God talks and if you hear God's voice, you die as a mortal." So Rickman, who is the voice of God, an angel, had to tell a young Jesus that he is Christ. And not only is he Christ, but he is doomed to die very painfully on the cross. And he had to tell him when he was a young kid. And Rickman's got this moment where he says, he begged for me to make it all not true. And I'll tell you something I've never told anyone before. If I had the power, I would have. It's not fair to put that kind of burden on a child, and it's not fair to put this kind of burden on you, main character of the movie. He's just so fucking good. Rickman is amazing. He's got a line towards the end when shit's getting bad at the end of Act 2 where he says, "So what are we going to do now?" And Rickman goes, "Well, I say we all get drunk because I'm all out of ideas." That was my big Facebook quote when he died, because fucking that's how it felt for a while when Rickman was gone. I say we all get drunk because I don't know what to do without Alan Rickman. If you can find the screenplay, it's worth a read as well, because it's a really Chasing Amy and Clerks and Mallrats and everything else I've talked about so far, my scripts included, come from very real humanistic places where you start talking about how I feel about my friends or high school or my parents or my job or whatever it is. Dogma is so much bigger than that. It's so imaginative and clever, and it's a fantasy film, but it's not. And the whole thing is grounded in reality, and it was Kevin Smith's first screenplay. He wrote that before Clerks. Back then it was called God. And he's been working on it for a very long time, trying to get it made for a very long time. And after the success of Chasing Amy, he finally got the opportunity. The story goes that he was writing Chasing Amy for Ben Affleck, and he gave him a copy of the the pages of Chasing Amy for him to read, like on a train ride from New York to Boston or something like that. I'm not from the East Coast. I don't know if you can take a train from New York to Boston. That seems far. But he was like, "It's a really long train, so do you have anything else I can read?" So Kevin said, "Here, you read Dogma too." And Affleck was like, "Fuck, I get it. She's a lesbian. Like, you wrote me a movie, that's fine. But this Dogma thing, like, when can I be in that?" So, yeah, I don't know. It's a really, good on you, Kevin Smith, for doing it. So, and I guess that segues into my Dear Kevin for this episode. Dear Kevin, I can't believe that you did this movie, that it came from such a profound place of confusion and hurt, and you took that and turned it into something stunningly beautiful and positive. Something that has a good thing to say about the nature of humanity and about the nature of belief. I like that you took a crisis of faith, and instead of letting it cripple you or turn you negative or turn you apathetic and say, "I don't give a shit, I don't believe anymore," you found a way to nurture that and turn it into what became Dogma. Once again, I can't believe you did it for $10 million, so once again, go direct another bigger movie. I'm just going to repeat my previous Dear Kevin. If you want to do a bigger movie, if you want to do a Star Wars flick or a comic book movie, or if you have any interest in it at all, you're doing The Flash right now in Toronto, which granted is TV, but still, it's big TV. If you want to go do it, because clearly you know how to take massive movies in scope and sets and locations and effects and make them for this much money. Like, I keep talking about $10 million. Anyway, before I get into all that again, I'm going to end my Dear Kevin. If you want to do a thing, do it, because Dogma proves you can. It's a fantastic movie. I can't believe you did it, and not just because of you. I'm just saying, like, I can't believe anybody did it. It's one of those movies where I look at it going, like, fuck, that is so goddamn clever and intelligent and beyond me. I'm not good enough to do that. So if you want, do it again. Please do it again. And thank you for making it the first time. Sincerely, George. Quick PS before I wrap it up. I keep talking about, whenever I mention Dogma, $10 million. If you don't know movies, maybe that sounds like a huge lot of money. And for, living a life, $10 million is more than enough. To put it in perspective for you, well, as I said before, Pulp Fiction came out in 1994, cost $8 million. That movie, which does not have angels and demons and all that shit. A movie that essentially is just a talking movie with kind of like one mini car crash in the middle. That movie cost $8 million. Mallrats cost $6 million, I think. Pretty sure that's right. Maybe I'm wrong and it cost 2, but I'm almost positive Mallrats. Yeah, Mallrats cost 6 and made 2, something crazy like that. Movies cost a lot of money. If you look at other movies around the time, like The Matrix, came out the same year as Dogma, like $100 million. So, Dogma was made for like 1/10 of the budget of The Matrix. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about, here's a rubber band and a paperclip, please build me a bazooka. Like, that's what Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier and his crew and his team were able to do. So that's why I keep harping on that number. Anyway, that wraps it up, I think, for Dogma, for this episode. I didn't want to get too into detail about the movie because I think you should watch it. For those who have seen it, I mean, we all know the highlights. The introduction of Selma Hayek is fucking fantastic with Candy Girl playing. Anything with Alan Rickman's lovely. The poop monster scene, very fun. And Jason Mewes gives a fucking fantastic performance too. There's not really a moment in that movie where it stops being awesome. Like, it's just through and through a real classy. That's all from the commentary track. It's a classy picture, but it is. It's just a very classy, well-made. It's got a fucking pulse to it. You want to get where you're going. That movie has a real drive to it, I guess is what I'm saying. So, thank you for watching as always, and I'll be back tomorrow with whatever the next thing I'm talking about is. Probably another one of my screenplays, and I'm running out of places to shoot in my apartment. Hence the goofy, close-up, deep background. I'm playing with depth. I'm like Orson Welles making Citizen Kane. Anyway, I'm rambling on. I've been up for way too long, and I've had 1 beer, so I'm not even drunk. Thank you for watching, as always, and I'll see you tomorrow with the next thing. All right? Bye. Bye.